I feel I'm in school when I draw these. I haven't done this since I used to sit with my children to do it.
Nice. Yeah, so here we are. Can you see this?
Yes. Now
Yeah.
I have drawn it, you should explain.
No, no, you should explain.
I can't be doing everything.
So let me try. No, you should explain it, and
No,
at least tell us what you felt while doing it. So this
what did
is
I?
chart number. This is the four journeys. Okay, passing away into God, abiding in God, and living God's life. The first phase is illusion. From the most finite point in and of the infinite comes out the infinite gross sphere. So that's the bottom. And then keyword millions of universes, right?
Yes.
And our gross world, Earth, is just one of them in one of the universe, throughout which are some planets which contain the seven kingdom of evolution. Yeah. And then from there you go to the subtle world, the planes on which few persons embark, and then you go to the seventh plane, fana. In the mental world, very few persons arrive here at end of the first journey as God, experience infinite power, knowledge, and bliss, perfect. Which then Baba, which very few persons as man God experience infinite power and bliss, abiding in God. That's the stage there. And then right on top, which only the five perfect masters accomplish, is man and God experience infinite power, knowledge, and bliss and use them. Then
बाबा
God,
के साथ पर्सन नहीं आएगा शायद.
what is that?
हेलो.
पर्सन
Yeah,
They
लिखा
have
हुआ है.
them.
person बाबा के साथ person नहीं यूज करेंगे.
Ha. Correct, correct. Then you go to Kutubiyat, which only the five perfect masters accomplish, as man and God experience infinite power, knowledge, and bliss and use them. Then finally, God drops his physical, subtle, and mental vehicles and experiences infinite power, knowledge, and bliss by retaining infinite individuality. Living God's life, living both as man and God simultaneously. This is the third journey. So you have the first journey between here and here, and then you have the second journey here, and then this is the third journey. Yeah, great.
No,
Oh,
it's
no,
so
no, no.
nice.
There is the fourth journey also because it's four journeys. Third journey. I think the fourth journey is after this, right? So passing away
No, the fourth
as
journey must be infinite God. You know that
oh,
peak
here.
on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
This regarding Tawhid?
I don't know what it is regarding. There are charts. I just copy them.
So let's go to the next one. Just one second.
I don't have a compass. Then I have to do freehand. Then it's not so nice.
Thali.
The third dot is a mistake on top. So just ignore it. The red
Okay.
third dot on the right hand side.
You didn't hear me. When the compass breaks, we go to the kitchen. Thali. Thali, tumbler. I'm reminded of school. So yeah,
Yeah.
this we went through. God is reality and all else is illusion. Everything is outside, and this is what we didn't understand. The minus nothing equal to minus nothing. Minus into nothing. Somebody has some wind. Ooh, somebody has wind that and they should go to mute. Guys, somebody's all of you, can you go to mute because there's a lot of wind and noise. Yeah, now it's okay. So I don't know which side it was, who it was. So Yeah, this we didn't 100% understand, but basically it was the mention of how the journey of the soul goes through. And you have the gross body, subtle body, and mental body, and the experiences of each of them. Gross body is nothing but the big gross shadow, subtle sphere is the big subtle shadow, and then the mental sphere is the big mental shadow. And then with that, you go, there was also something, then you go to the God's most original unconscious state of the beyond the beyond. So this is too very nice.
Nobita, have you understood and researched this or just drawn it? Nobita is there?
Yeah, I think maybe she's on mute. Nomita?
I am a kindergarten student, so I just copy right now.
Oh, okay. You've not taken any meaning of that, right?
No, not yet. As I told you, I am submitting in His love. Whatever retains, my head retains, that is His blessing.
Yeah, good.
I don't want to analyze too much. But
Oh.
I understand broadly
See,
what it is. Yeah.
I have to thank COVID-19 for moving from keeping God speaks under my head to at least understanding something.
Yeah.
So that I totally relate to what you're saying. So,
Yeah, that's what you know.
Baba.
Hey, Baba. So,
Thank you to Neha. I would have never known about you if she wouldn't
yeah,
tell
thank
me.
you, Deha, for
Thank you, Baba.
also.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you,
Thank,
Baba.
indeed, and it was also Neha that suggested that make this a daily affair.
Yeah.
It was such a nice thought, and that kind of speeded everything up. We also got to know all of us better and so on. So I think
The whole group is the brainchild of Baba through Neha.
Yes.
yes. So this is again a journey, and I think this is what Mama was referring to as uh, reminding him of the chakras, right? Is that what you?
Yes.
Yes, yeah,
It is like so. Yeah.
yeah. So here the bhuvanas are there: the Anna Bhuvana, Prana Bhuvana, and Mano Bhuvana, the Tri Bhuvana, which is the Bhumika. And then above that is Nirvikalpa, Fanafila, Manonash, and Final Fila. And Paramahamsa is here. Jivan Mukta, Vidyan, which is in Sufi Lahut. And then you have the Sadguru. From there, you go to the status of Satchitanand, infinite bliss, knowledge, and power. Then Vijnana Bhumika, Paratpara Parabrahma, Zat al Bat, Garib ul Gaib, Vara ul Vara, Paramatma, Allah, and Hubs. Great.
Yeah, she's understood it pretty well.
I don't think so, but yeah, but it looks nice.
Better than me.
Nobody is better or worse. Baba is within us, so we are all pure souls, good people.
Yes. So we continue with the Sufi journey. Any updates or thoughts on? I think I saw Neha's comment saying, can we have some more details? So if there is anything that anybody wishes to share on Sufi, happy to take that up.
I just caught hold of my connection.
Okay.
I mean, book collection. There's one book I have which I have not read is Letters from a Sufi Teacher.
Okay.
And it is written by Sheikh Shrafuddin Maneri in the later part of 14th century
Okay.
and translated by one Baijnath Singh. This is a 1909 book.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, so
Baijnath was a very prominent writer. और उनकी बुक अगर आपके पास कोई है तो वो बहुत रेयर कलेक्शन है.
हाँ ये book I don't know if you can see. No.
1 second. Let me bring you up on full screen. Yeah, do you want to show it? Yeah, you'll have to switch off your background because we are seeing the background when you cover your face.
Oh, okay.
Do it on T-shirt. Do it on your T-shirt.
No, even yeah, maybe.
Yes, on T-shirt we can see it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but you have to stand. Your teeth. I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Like this.
okay.
Okay. Now again,
No, it's
No,
not
it's
coming.
not
Now again.
coming on T-shirt
Just
also.
a
But
minute.
I could see glimpses.
yeah.
I'll just
Remove background and then it'll be very clear. Interesting.
one reason I can't continue with, I don't think I'm able to remove the background. Later on, we'll do that. It will waste
No
time.
problem. No problem.
So I have about 35 books lined up. So I cannot read Baba's books at the moment. So I just
Okay.
finished God Speaks and that's it for the time being. Maybe after 6 months.
Great.
Don't do this.
No,
Please
I
take
have.
a photo of the contents of this book and maybe the foreword. Then it will give us some inkling what it is about.
Yeah.
You can take a photo and put it in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that. I'm not on WhatsApp, but I'll put it here on Teams.
Yeah, so that's another request, guys. If we can chat on the Teams, it also becomes a body of knowledge where we can refer maybe even a year later, right? We may remember, oh, this was shared by somebody,
Perfect.
or right.
Perfect.
So let's put everything on Teams. That would be useful.
Okay.
I have some difficulty doing that. I'll see how best I can do.
No, I saw you active and you were posting and liking stuff already. So it's more like Facebook, right? It's more like Facebook. So maybe at the end of this
Okay.
call, again, I'll show you. So can
Right,
someone help me with the page number?
Any? You take this later, you bring it back.
Page number 262, 263.
262, 263. I think I've lost my markings.
Are you trying to search in the other one?
No, I'm not. I'm in the right one. So 260.
There is a chart on the left side.
Yeah, coming there. Just in a minute. Oh yeah, there is a marking. But why didn't it search the marking? So anyway, weird. Okay, so this is where we were. Any quick thoughts or comments on? 1 second. Kama is sending network down. Couldn't join. So he's in Dibrugarh, and sometimes both Wi-Fi and internet are just switched on by the whatever, right? So he loses both, and that's strange. But he's just sent a message on WhatsApp. Okay, so coming back, any quick thoughts or comments before we continue on the Sufi journey? So it's an important aspect of Baba's work that he focused on, and the Sufism Charter and Sufism Reoriented are important things that obviously are not to be taken lightly by us. And as I said, the big difference is they do a lot of monastic slash learning slash community living, like how Baba would have wanted. So in that sense, you can see some mandali like work going on when you see the Sufi movement closely, right? So of course there are observations and comments. I don't want to get into any of that right now. Just 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing and come back. Okay, so I'll continue from the paragraph which is marked on page 263. Wahdat ul Wujud of Muhyiddin ibn Arabi is from the heights of Ahadiyat, conscious unity, and the gnosis pertaining to this stage is therefore Hama Ust. Wahdat ul Shuhud of Sheikh Sahabuddin Suhrawardi, also known as Mujadid, is from the same heights of reality, Hakikat, but the gnosis expressed is Hama as Ust. Everything is from him. The two doctrines and the resultant controversies are a later development at the beginning of the present Daur-e-Kalan.
Shahrawadi is again a Sufi. इनका पूरा like Nizamuddin Aulia is a similar line. इनकी अपनी पूरी एक branch है Shahrawadi.
Okay. I'll continue. The two doctrines and the resultant controversies are a later development at the beginning of the present Daur-e-Kalandari. I lost audio for a minute, so I don't know if there was a question or something. At the present Daur-e-Kalandari, which is cycle of mastery, and so did not arise during the lifetime of the Arabian prophet. The doctrine of the Wujudiyas is based on experience plus reason, and the Shuhudiyas base it on experience and the Quranic aspect of common interest. Requesting again to go on mute, there is some noise. Ibn Arabi denies transcendence and immanence, which imply duality. He maintains that God is one and it is He alone who exists. All else appear to exist are His manifestations or tajalliyat. Hence, God is identical with sifat, attributes, and all divine names are identical with the named, which is Allah. The saints who belong to the Wujudiya school of thought have their eyes on the oneness of existence, Wahid ul Wujud, the first tajalli, manifestation of God from the stage of Ahadiyat, and therefore the later devolutions, that is mental, subtle, and gross worlds, are like a shadow, zil, which is nothing, and as such constitutes an adumberation on Zat, divine essence. The shadow Zil, however, owes its existence to and is dependent upon God, who is infinite and eternal. Thus, the shadow is in the sense that the Wujudiyas look upon everything as God, even the shadows, mental, subtle, and gross worlds, which have no independent existence. The Shuhudiyas, as said before, hold two Zats, the one of reality and the other of non-reality, the one of God and the other of Banda. The Zat of Banda is zero, Adum, and this Adum, nothingness, is relational, Izafi, and is not real, Hakiki. If nothing, Adum, is to be considered as an essence, reality, then there will be two Zats, which results in dualism. The Adum-e-Izafi is only relatively an Adum, nothing. It is mere zero. If any number of zeros are added to a zero, the value of the number does not change. Thus, Adum is therefore a symbol in the knowledge of God. Since perfection appertains to Zat, God is perfection itself. Imperfection relates to Adum, and hence evil is the manifestation of Adum. Non-existent existence. The Mujadid. I request all of you to go on mute. Still, there are some people who have not gone on mute. The Mujadid only reaffirmed and re-emphasized the doctrine of Wahdat ul Shuhud, apparentism, originally founded by Abdul Karim al-Jili, the author of Al-Insan ul Kamil. The spiritual fact, however, is that Wujudiya philosophy is of a loftier kind and admits of no considerations of convenience or compromise. The gnosis of Meher Baba is equally applicable to both these approaches to truth, and in order to follow it as given in the 10 states of God, some familiarity with the Sufi way of delineating the tanazzulat, the devolutions of the absolute, through successive stages of manifestations known as Khamsa Wujudat, 5 existences of the Sufi world, would be of help to the seeker. The gnosis of all perfect Sufis implies that God in the beyond state is unknowable and undefinable. In comprehending this state of God, Vara ul Vara, which is beyond the beyond, the wings of thought and imagination are paralyzed. In the beyond state, the absolute God, Wujud e Mutlaq, is. The Sufis have described this transcendent state of God in many ways, such as Ghaibul Ghaib, the hidden of the hidden, Majul Unnat, the unknowable and the undefinable. It is in this state that there is no knowledge of itself for Zat. Munkata ul Izarat, the state in relation to which all indications are dropped. Al-Ama, the dark mist, which implies a state of latent potentiality of God in relation to its inward aspect of beyond the beyond and its outward aspect of Ahadiyat, conscious oneness, in which Zat is aware of its transcendent unity. Somebody is still not gone on mute. I can hear a constant static. Meher Baba explains that although God from the beyond state, conscious oneness, cannot return to the beyond state, he knows that he was and is infinite existence. 1 second, let me check who it is. So I don't know who it is. Everybody is on mute, but I hear a constant irritating noise, right?
Could be your own reverberation.
Yeah, maybe some noise on my side. Maybe it's a computer noise. It's very irritating. So I'll just continue. Al-Ama, the dark mist, which implies a state of latent potentiality of God in relation to its inward aspect of beyond the beyond and its outward aspect of Ahadiyat, conscious oneness, in which Zat is aware of its transcendent unity. Meher Baba explains that although God from beyond state, conscious oneness, cannot return to the beyond state, he knows that he was and is infinite existence, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, and from that knows that his original state was the beyond state, Zat al-Path. However, with a view to making the subject intelligible to the seekers, the Sufis have treated the divine theme in terms of devolutions or manifestations of 5 different types, thus Khamsa Wujudat, or 5 kinds of existence. Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence, is the first manifestation of Tajalli-e-Awwal in the Alam-e-Lahut of the real sphere and comprises the stage of Ahadiyat, conscious oneness. Arif ul Wujud, knowing existence, is the stage associated with Hakikat-e-Muhammadi, reality of Muhammad, or Noor-e-Muhammadi, light of Muhammad, the stage of Hahut in the sphere of reality. This is the stage of Wahadiyat consciousness, conscious of Wahadiyat, conscious of oneness in manyness. It is the second manifestation, the Tajalli-e-Dovum. Hakikat-e-Muhammadi is God's original word realized. Noor-e-Muhammadi is God's original word expressed. Hakikat-e-Muhammadi includes Noor-e-Muhammadi, but Noor-e-Muhammadi does not include Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. Mumtan ul Wujud, negative existence, is the third stage of manifestation, Tajalli e Sevom. This is the Alam e
You missed
Jabrut.
a line. You missed a line. I think.
No, I read that. I read that and went back.
Conscious
Yeah,
oneness.
I read that. I read that, then went to the footnote. So I completed the flow from here to the last line and then went back to the
Okay.
footnote. Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's the third stage. Mumtan wul wujud, negative existence, is the third stage of manifestation. Tajalli e sevom. This is the alam e jabrut, the mental sphere, at which point the stage of wahadiyat, oneness in manyness, begins. Mumkin wul wujud, possible existence, amongst other things, comprises the world of angels and spirits and is known as Alam e Malakut, the subtle sphere, which is the sphere of energy. This represents Tajalli e Chaharum, the fourth stage of manifestation. Wajib ul wujud, necessary existence, comprises everything relating to gross existence. It is known to the Sufis as Alam e Nasut, the gross sphere. The fifth aspect of manifestation is Tajalli e Panjom. These represent the five devolutions of God from the beyond state known as Tajalliyat e Khamsa or Khamsa Wajudat, five existences or five manifestations. Now we shall treat each one of them in the ascending series, beginning with Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, and ending with Wahid ul Wujud. In the domain of Sharia, Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, means to the theologian the absolute God from whom all grades of existence derive their being. The Sufis, on the other hand, use the term to denote everything that is gross and material. Here, Wujud means body, since the evolving soul in stone, vegetable, animal, and human form cannot be said to evolve without the gross mediums composed of the five elements. This gross existence in the stage of Wajib ul Wujud is a great boon conferred by God, as without it, the achievement of the stages of perfection, sainthood, and leadership would be unthinkable. The gross body is a wonderful and unique mechanism which has in it all the other four relative and real existences, the subtle, mental, and sub-supramental, and God Himself, which hence the human body is called by the Sufis as Alam e Sagir, microcosm, which is the epitome of Alam e Kabir, macrocosm, which comprises all the five existences, the mystery of which no one can unravel without the help of the universal mind of a perfect master or the savior. Wajib ul wujud, necessary existence or gross sphere, derives its existence from or is the reflection of mumkin ul wujud, subtle sphere. The relationship between God and creation at this stage is that of the Lord and the slave. The evolving consciousness or mind of the stage is called nafs e ammara, evil self, and it has the natural tendency to enjoy anything that is gross. Here, the idea of God's relation to man is known as Tawheed e Akwali, verbal unity of God, which acknowledges the existence of God orally. Mumkin ul wujud, possible existence or the subtle sphere, derives its existence from Mumtan wul wujud, mental sphere. Herein, the relationship between God and His manifested attributes is of the sort that exists between father and children. Here, God is kind, merciful, and vigilant towards His children who are carefree, with no thoughts of punishment or reward, no desire for knowledge, and no craving for spiritual attainments. And such entities are commonly known as angels. The consciousness of this sphere, Alam e Malakut, is styled as Nafs e Lavama, reproachful self. And the cognition of God at this stage is called Tawheed e Afali, unity of action, which means the entities of this world are exclusively busy with their appointed task of remembering God. Mumtan ul Wujud, negative existence or mental sphere, contains the fifth and sixth planes of the path, which at this stage reaches Wahidiyat, oneness in manyness. Wahidiyat begins from the fifth and reaches its zenith in the sixth plane and has explicit in it all the details of creation, comprising the subtle and the gross planes. This is the Alam-e-Jabrut, which derives its existence from and is the reflection of the Arif-ul-Wujud, the stage of Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. It's called Mumtan-ul-Wujud, or negative existence, for the simple reason that Mumtana means that which is not existent and Wujud means the form or body of existence. Thus, the word Mumtan ul Wujud signifies that the form is non existent therein. This stage is akin to the seed, which contains within it the potential for the roots and branches of the tree, which, when fully evolved and manifest, go to represent the subtle and the gross planes. The Sufis know this as La Makan, in which all ideas of time and space converge to a point. The consciousness of the mental sphere is called by the Sufis Nafs-e Mumtamainna, meaning beatified or satisfied self.
Mutmain.
Mutmain, okay.
It's
Nafs,
mutmain actually. मुतमईन मतलब जो अपने में ही जो रहता है ना, जो अपने में ही गुमशुदा रहता है, मुतमईन.
Oh, okay. Consciousness of the mental sphere is called by the Sufis as Nafs-e-Mutmain, meaning beatified or satisfied self in the fifth plane. And then Nafs-e-Mulhima, meaning inspired self in the sixth plane. Herein, the relationship between God and creation is that of beloved and the lover, and the idea of God in these stages is known to the Sufis as Tawheed-e-Ahwali, unity of feeling. This is the stage known as Hakikat-e-Insani, reality of man, wherein man comes face to face with God, but has not yet shed his ego and is still in the domain of duality. Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence in the stage of Alam e Lahut, of the sphere of reality, is the state in which God first became conscious of his Ahadiyat, conscious oneness, and Ariful Wujud in the stage of Alam e Hahut, of the same sphere of reality, is the state of Wahdiyat e Wahdiyat, conscious oneness of oneness in manyness, also called Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. In the state of Vara-ul Vara, God, according to the Sufis, was a hidden treasure and wanted to be known. No sooner did the hidden treasure express a desire to know itself than it became aware of itself as light, or Noor-e-Muhammadi, which has implicit and latent in it the existence of all the creation and the manifest world. And it is in relation to this that Prophet Muhammad has said, God created my first light, and from my light the universe came into being. This is the aspect of Jamal, beauty, in the knowledge of God included in the Tawheed-e-Zati. Here, the relationship existing between God and the creation is that existing between the lover and the beloved. Here, the lover is God and Muhammad is the beloved. God here possesses complete awareness of both himself and creation. Is there any significance to the reversal of roles here? Because I see here the lover is God and Muhammad is the beloved, whereas we have heard of the divine beloved being God and the human is the lover, right? So that's just an observation. The rest of it was overhead transmission. Wahid ul Wujud, unity of existence, is the first limitation of God in the beyond state and is one of the stages of the fifth sphere known as Lahut. This is the stage of conscious absolutism, which when used by the Ariful Wujud knowing existence, gives him the experience of both fana and baka. This stage, like all other stages of the path, is beyond mind and intellect and cannot be encompassed in words and includes tajalli-e-jamali, epiphany of beauty, and tajalli-e-jalali, which is epiphany of beatitude. Tajalli-e-jalali is that which confers on a soul the experience of fana, complete annihilation, and Tajalli-e-jamali endows him once again with the consciousness of normality, known to the Sufis as baka. Tajalli-e-jalali is also ashkiyat, wherein God is the beloved and man is the lover. And Tajalli-e-jamali is mashukiyat, where God is the lover and man is the beloved. This latter is the highest spiritual manifestation known as fakr or fakiri. Okay, so he brings out the difference between the two. Thus, in Alam e Lahut and Alam he Hahut of the fifth, the real sphere, are the stages of perfection in the respective aspects of Ashik o Mashuk, lover and the beloved in one, and Ashik, lover, and Mashuk, beloved, simultaneously in Alam e Jabrut, mental sphere, are the stages of Ashik, lover, and Arif, Gnostic, and in Malakut, subtle sphere, is the stage of enumerator of attributes, and in Nasut, the gross sphere, is the stage of Wakif, gross conscious one. Describing these stages in the ascending order, when Wakif, the conscious one, becomes more conscious, he enters the stage of Wasif, attributes, and from the Wasif, he arrives at the stage of Irfan, gnosis, and from Irfan, he reaches the domain of the mysteries of God, Marif. From the stage of Marif, he is presented with the sight of God, which confers upon him the status of a lover. And when he ultimately becomes love, he finds that he himself was the end all and be all of everything. In this stage of Huyat, everything is dissolved in the I am God state of God. With that, we can go back to the top. Any quick comments? We can take a.
This needs a lot of research actually for me.
Indeed. It's. I think
it's a new topic and it has to be properly researched.
Correct. And I'm not sure if it looks to me right now that this is more introduced to ensure that the Sufis have a relationship with God speaks and they have some kind of a parallel. So I think that's why it's in the supplement. But I think it's very, very well elucidated from the Sufi side.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You're saying something, Neha, or was it Namita?
Namita, you're on my mute.
Okay, Nomita, hi.
Yeah.
You know, I realize many of the words, some of the words in this are Kashmiri words as well, you know. Like we use Wajood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think our language partially originated from Persian. So there is a lot, and there's a very strong Sufi culture in Kashmir.
Correct.
So I do see some resemblance in what we have seen while growing up in Kashmir, but not so much because you know we were Shevites and we didn't really pay much attention to it. But it does ring a bell. So you know in Kashmir they'll say, oh, they will remove your wajood, which means wajood is existence, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that was something. It took me.
Namita,
Yes.
what we speak or what we, the commonly used words, don't translate them exact, just go on what Baba is saying, what Baba has translated, or what Baba has said about it. Because when we use it in spiritual terms, it has little different meaning. You know,
I see.
irfan like knowledge, but Baba has says so. Just be particular. Don't go for dictionary, normal dictionary to see this from Urdu to Hindi. Try to stick to God speaks more. Hmm?
Okay, sure.
I
Thank
think
you.
I think we've discussed a few sessions back regarding the spiritual terms, the meaning in spirituality, not merely with Sufism, it's with all all the aspects of spirituality, and the meanings of colloquial and here they are totally different. That's the reason we have glossaries here, right?
Correct.
This is
And
stick to
just
this.
as Nomita said, a lot of these words are in all colloquial
Persian.
language. Persian
Yeah.
is there in Gujarati, Hindi, everywhere. Many
Yes.
of these words are we use colloquially, but they mean something else.
But I got very
And
excited.
in
I thought I know
Sufism, there
this.
are many
Yeah, yeah.
other
I
languages
understand.
also incorporated.
Yes.
So you will find many words.
Okay, Jai Baba.
Great. So I'll go back to where we went to the supplement from, which is basically just before starting state one of the states of God. So I'll just finish off the two quotes and then go to state one. Maulana Shabistari in Gulshan e Raz says, Gar andar amad aval hum bidar shud, agar chi dar mad az, dar bidar shud. He returns to the door from which he first came out, although in his journey he went from door to door.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Irshad, Irshad.
Yeah. Um, we shall now try to describe concisely each one of these 10 states of God as explained by Meher Baba. And we start with state one, God in the beyond state. This state of God is so transcendent that nothing can really be conceived of it. It is utterly pure and immaculate and has no tinge of otherness. It is the hidden of all hidden knowledge and the internal of all internal realities. It is beyond all words, and so it cannot be adequately described. It is neither finite nor infinite, neither attributeless nor with attributes. In this domain, the wings of thought, inference, discrimination, and understanding are limp and useless. Be kial dar nagunjad, tu kial e kud maranjan, ji jahat buvad mubarra mavallab bihik suyash. He cannot be grasped by the mind. Therefore, do not exert yourself to understand him. He is free of all directions. Therefore, do not try to seek him anywhere. Meher Baba says that when one who has realized this state of God tries to describe it to others, this act results in a description not of the first, but of the second state of God, God in the beyond state. It is eternity of all eternities, Azl ul Azal, because no eternity can be conceived of to precede or follow it. Here, all indications are blotted out. Munkata ul Izarat, since no other thing exists that can be pointed out to or referred to. This pure essence, Zat al Bat, is not aware of anything, even of itself. This state has been referred to by the Sufis as Vara ul Vara, the beyond state of God. Vedanta calls it Parat Para Parabrahma. This is the state in which God is neither Nirguna, attributeless, nor Saguna, with attributes, neither Nirakara, formless, nor Sakara, with forms. Of all the principal 10 states of God, the first and the most original state is the beyond state of God. When there were no other states of God in the beyond the beginning of the beginning, only the most original state of God, that is, God is state, prevailed as the beyond state of God. I'll read that line again. When there were no other states of God in the beyond the beginning of the beginning, only the most original infinite state of God, that is, God is state, prevailed as the beyond state of God. In the infinitude of this beyond state of God, only the infinity of infinitude is manifest as the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum. And all other states, attributes, and aspects of God, including infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness, are all latent as the nothing in that infinitude of the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum as the everything. Everything also includes the nothing. Thus, the most original beyond state of God is that state where one can only say, God is eternally. And that in this most original state, God is neither infinitely nor finitely conscious, nor unconscious of self or of his own state of infinitude. In this state, God is also neither conscious nor unconscious of illusion or reality. With that, we go to God in the beyond state. We have already stated that the beyond state of God can never be adequately described. God realized beings, when they try to describe the beyond state, succeed only in describing the beyond state of God, which is the Allah of Sufis, the Ahura Mazda of Zoroastrians, the Paramatma of Vedantists, God, the Father of Christians, and the Oversoul of some philosophers. God in the beyond state is absolute, unlimited, and infinite, the one without a second. Meher Baba, while explaining the second state of God, expressed that fundamentally state 2 is no way different from state 1 of the God. The substates A, B, and C of state 2 of God are what create the difference. How, when, and where the difference came into being is described as follows from the explanations of Meher Baba. At the instant when the latent, original, infinite whim of the infinite God to know himself, who am I, is about to surge in the unbounded uniformity of the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum of the most original, beyond state of God, the very prospect of this infinite urge to know, prompting the eternally tranquil poise of God in the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum, becomes inconceivable. What becomes inconceivable? At the instant when the original infinite whim of the infinite God to know himself, who am I, is about to surge in the unbounded uniformity of the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum of the most original beyond state of God, the very prospect of this infinite urge to know, prompting the eternally tranquil poise of God in the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum, becomes inconceivable. So even the urge is inconceivable. But the fact of the insurge of the infinite whim and its very inconceivability spontaneously brings into being another aspect of God's state, other than the most original beyond state of unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum, where there is neither prospect of aspect nor attribute, neither the infinite or finite consciousness, nor the infinite or finite unconsciousness, and where, except for the infinity of God which is eternally manifest, every other thing is latent, including the infinite whim and the consequent infinite urge to know. Thus, it is that the very inconceivability of the prospect of the infinite whim surging in the beyond state automatically unfolds the prospectiveness, which is also latent in the infinite state, and this manifestation of prospectiveness bestows upon the most original beyond state of God the prospect of an infinite aspect different from that of the most original and eternal state. The second state of God, accordingly, comes into being only as another infinite aspect of the most original first state. This second state of the 10 principal states of God is called the original beyond state of God. It is to be heeded well that this original second state of God, denoted in the chart as 2 and termed God in beyond state, is in no way to be taken as a state of God altogether other than the most original first state of God, denoted in the chart as I and termed God in beyond state. The only difference between state 1 and state 2 of God is that state 1 is of unbounded, absolute, infinite divine vacuum, where even the remotest prospect of the insurge of the infinite whim is inconceivable. Therefore, only at the instant when the original infinite whim insurges in the infinitude of the God is state, could infinite God conceive the infinite original urge to know as who. That is, only when the aspectless state of state 1 of God in beyond gets the aspect of state 2 of God in beyond. Paratpara Parabrahma thus gets the infinite aspect of Paramatma. It is also to be noted very carefully that the beyond state marked in the chart as 2 is fundamentally the same as the beyond state of God marked in the chart as 1. But in the chart, these two states, 1 and 2, are depicted separately, because even though state 2 of God in beyond state, state 2 of God in beyond state is the same original state of God, yet it is not the most original state of God, which is the beyond state. This necessarily follows because God could conceive the infinite insurge of the infinite original whim and could get the infinite original impulse of the infinite original urge to know as who am I only in state 2, when God originally in state 1 assumes the infinite original aspect of state 2 within his own eternal state 1, which is the most original beyond state.
See, this is till here, it is similar to what we have seen before about from the whim to the realization of the consciousness. So even God goes through these two steps, and then then stages changes from consciousness of a human being and the consciousness of God, because God is a direct ascendant. So
Correct.
from here onward, it will change.
Correct.
Before this, the whim and the realization is the same for God and human.
Correct. To be more explicit, in both these states of God, states 1 and 2, except for the eternally manifest infinity of the eternal infinitude of God as the unbounded, absolute, infinite divine vacuum, all attributes, all aspects, all states, infinite and most finite consciousness and unconsciousness of God, including God's own infinite triune nature of power, knowledge, and bliss, and all other things, are all latent in the unbounded, absolute, infinite divine vacuum. All this that is latent in the infinitude could only have the scope of manifestation in state 2 of God, which may be said to differ from state 1 only in this respect of having this infinite scope of manifestation of all that is infinitely and most finitely latent as the nothing in the infinitude of God as the everything. I didn't get this. All this that is latent in the infinitude could only have the scope of manifestation in state 2 of God, which may be said to differ from state 1 only in this respect of having this infinite scope of manifestation of all that is infinitely and most finitely latent as nothing in the infinitude of God as everything. Okay. Consequently, the infinite original whim of God, when it once surged, had the feasibility of surging only in state 2 of God, and when it surged, it did so uniformly in the infinitude of God. But when the whim surged, the insurge of this whim could never be experienced by God in his infinitely most independent beyond state 1. It was experienced by God eternally in the most original beyond state only through the infinite aspect of his state 2 as God in the beyond state. Hence, the infinite insurge of the original whim and its consequent infinite repercussions are in reality effected in the state 2 of God in the beyond state. At the instant when the infinite original whim surged and God had the infinite original urge to know as who am I, the infinite uniformity of the infinite insurge of the whim spontaneously made manifest both the latent infinite consciousness and the latent infinite unconsciousness of God simultaneously in the original beyond state of God, who is nevertheless eternally in the most original beyond state. This spontaneous manifestation of the latent infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness simultaneously is beyond the grasp of human intellect to understand and digest. I agree. It is indeed a paradox of the realm of reality, and it defeats all human understanding. How could God gain spontaneously his own infinite consciousness and his infinite unconsciousness simultaneously? Meher Baba, while explaining this, declared that this is a fact and it is of the realm of reality, but it can never be understood or grasped by the mind. It is only to be realized on realizing the reality. At the same time, in order that we may get at least some concept of this fact affected in reality, and that we may not take it as a mere paradoxical mystery, Meher Baba made us understand this apparent paradox through the example of a child in a mother's womb. When the mother conceives, the child is under development in the mother's womb, and as soon as the development reaches a stage when, along with other developments, the eyes of the child are fully molded, the child gains the faculties of seeing and not seeing simultaneously. Irrespective of whether the child after birth sees or does not see, the very fact that the eyes have been molded in the womb of his mother gives to the child the dual aspect of his own eyes. In the eyes, as soon as they are developed, the faculties of seeing and not seeing are simultaneously contained. When the child opens his eyes, he will see, and when he closes his eyes, he will not see. But the fact still good holds good that no sooner were the eyes developed than there was contained in them the dual faculty of seeing and not seeing simultaneously. Similarly, with the insurge of the original whim in God, both the infinite consciousness and unconsciousness latent in God were manifested simultaneously, which to the limited mind appears paradoxical. I think that's a good example, uh, which talks about both the seeingness and the non-seeingness being ready when the eyes are fully developed. So, on that note, I think we will put a marker there and continue from here. But this was very heady stuff,
Yes.
as I believe, as I believe the rest of the states of God are going to be. But we will keep going.
We saw Baba as God in state 2. Is that
Yeah.
understanding correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So, in fact, he goes on to say nobody, I mean, all the attempts to describe are only of state 2 by anybody. So, yes, the expressible, explainable divinity is only in state 2.
State 2.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll
Jai Baba.
have a good day, everybody. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Jai Baba.